It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Please welcome back to the program. We've got State Representative Marcus Richmond, Republican Majority Leader in the Arkansas House of Representatives. Marcus, thanks for coming back on, sir.
Oh, my pleasure, Paul. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and your listeners.
Thank you.
About some of the things that are going on in the state of Arkansas.
I know. It is always great to have you on, and, of course, you guys have kicked it off right, and the 92nd General Assembly is underway. Let me ask you this. Speaker of the House, Matthew Shepard, I said earlier, I think that's one of the best speeches I ever heard, especially the part where he was really just urging members to stay humble. What were your thoughts on his speech?
Well, I agree with you on that. I mean, I listened to it. He didn't preview it or anything like that to anybody that I'm aware of, and it was sincere. It was presented. I've known Matt for a long time, but I've really got to know him here in the last few months. He's a dedicated individual. He truly wants to make a difference. And as you know, in Little Rock, politics and everything as it is, it's not always easy. The easy is always hard, and hard is always almost nearly impossible a lot of times. And so, I thought that he really set the proper tone for us trying to move forward and take care of the folks here in the state of Arkansas.
I agree, and the part. I think the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, they clipped out a portion of a speech, and it was a good portion, a good quote, but they left out the part right before, which we played on the show the other day, where he talked about how the people have entrusted you guys with the preservation of their liberty, and I thought, wow. I don't know when the last time I've heard that, talking about, hey, we're here to preserve the people's liberties. I felt like that is such a positive message.
It was, and it's absolutely spot on with what we need to do. The danger, again, in a republic such as ours, tyranny never comes. Usually, I will say this: tyranny seldom comes from the point of a gun. It comes from good intentions, and basically, constantly moving towards debt and other problems that you create with. If we'll solve this problem, we can grow some government here and there, and that will solve that problem. And the next thing you know, you've got a bureaucracy and you've got a government that just basically crowds out everything else, including your liberty.
We're talking with State Representative Marcus Richmond. He's from District 21. He's also the Republican Majority Leader in the Arkansas House of Representatives. So, there's a lot of issues that are, that you guys are going to face. We have taxes. We have roads. I haven't really seen any legislation filed on the tax situation yet. I've seen draft legislation. What are you hearing on the tax situation? When do you think that's going to come up?
Well, I think it's one of the priorities, that the governor wants to push. It needs to come up here pretty quickly. We don't need, to delay that thing because it requires all the legislators to pay attention, to read, to understand exactly what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. I think that we'll see it here, within the next week or maybe 2 weeks at the most, but you can't be certain. There's always, as people go through it and they look at it, somebody, and I don't know for sure, but somebody may have found, that if we do this here, it's going to cause this particular consequence to happen, and they may still be tweaking it at some point.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And what I'm hopeful of, and this is just, I love the fact that you guys are in session now from a legislative standpoint. You guys have more constitutional authority than you have at other times during the year during this session, and so I really I look forward to a congenial, vigorous debate where the full 135 member body is allowed to legislate. So if you do put a piece of legislation out there like tax reform, boy, it sure would be great if we get some votes on some amendments to try to make it better and actually have the debate. Sometimes I get frustrated, Marcus. I know you know this, because it seems like sometimes we have a predetermined outcome we've already reached before we've even talked about it. And, I think it's better to let people, represent their districts.
Yeah, it's and again, in the past, I felt the same frustration. I'm hoping that it's going to be different this time. I know that's one of the things that we've the speaker, myself, and others in leadership have talked to the executive branch, and we've talked to the Senate as well, is that, let's get this stuff out in front of the legislators as soon as possible. Let's get everybody the ability to read, look, and digest. And if they come to the to the floor and do not know exactly what the specifics are, then it's their fault. It's not because it seemed like it's been rushed through or kept in the dark, and suddenly it pops on the agenda and we've got to vote on it right now. That we don't need to do that. And whether that's the way it was, it's the way that a lot of us perceived it to be in the past, and we don't need that to happen.
That's good.
It just makes for difficult legislation, and it makes for unforeseen consequences, and we need to minimize that as much as possible.
Yeah, I think
this is important. This is important what we're getting ready to do, and we need to know exactly. And the debate, we need to have a rigorous debate within the committee itself that sees this to iron it out even before it gets to the floor.
I really think that's a great attitude, because you don't want to, like you said, it pops up on the agenda and then it's like a manufactured emergency. Like we've got to do something right now. It's like, wait a second, let's give it time. Let's let it marinate, and let's let everybody do their own fact finding. I think that's really, really encouraging. Now, Marcus, I understand that the roads in your district, in your neck of the woods, are not the greatest roads in the state. Would you agree with that?
I heard more about highways than anything else while I was campaigning, and I drive the same roads, and I tell you what really concerns me. We've got a little stretch of highway that runs between Walden, Arkansas, and Danville, Arkansas, and there's been at least 2 incidents, maybe 3, where school buses going across that highway has actually lost their mirrors to other oncoming traffic, such as semi-trucks or whatever else that it might be. Usually at nighttime, carrying a team or something like that. That's just too darn dangerous. And we've got to do something about that. The problem is, what are we going to do? And you have one group that says the only way to solve this is that we've got to increase the tax on consumption somehow. And then you have another group such as myself and several others that are looking, no, let's don't immediately jump to that conclusion. Let's go through the complete process. Let's look at every asset of revenue that we have, including general revenue, and go completely through the process and see what's there, what can be used, whether or not we can move it from here to highways, whether things like car batteries and tires and stuff like that, the sales tax, all that. Can we do that? Can we move that through? And then if the answer is no, because of some great problem that it's going to create somewhere else, at least then I can go back and say to the people, this is why we had to do it this way. And then the other thing, if we're going to do it, if we're going to have to raise taxes on gas, and I may be the only one that thinks this way, but I don't think that's true. But if we're going to do that, let's do it in the legislature. Let's just not pass it out to the people and say, well, we'll let the people decide. Let's go ahead and take responsibility. Let's own it, because it's the physically responsible thing to do. Anytime you pass it to the people to make a decision, you have to do it as a bond issue, and that increased the cost. You're not only generating money, but you're increasing the cost to the people because you've got to pay the interest.
Wow. Yeah. And then that would avoid that argument of, well, I'm not for the tax increase. I'm just for letting the people decide. Because that's always a cop-out that is used as like a shield. And it's like, wait a second, that you still support it if you're voting. You know what I mean? I've never bought that. But
yeah, it's true. And here's the thing. If we have to go that route at some point, and basically there's just, no way to come up with revenue, at least partial revenue or something else, then let's own it. Let's just go ahead and own it and say this is what we had to do in order to get the highways up into a better situation. I mean, and then let the people decide if it was the right thing or not the next election cycle.
Yeah, when you're actually voting for state reps and state senators. We're talking with State Representative Marcus Richmond. Now, on that, Marcus, there's a story that I have. It was up at, I think, Conduit for Action this morning. Headline, Incredibly Bad Timing by Agency Demanding Higher Taxes. It references a Talk Business and Politics report that the Arkansas Department of Transportation is giving $1 million to the Civil Engineering Research and Education Center that's expected to be built at the Arkansas Research and Technology Park in South Fayetteville. This was announced by the University of Arkansas as a gift, and it was announced yesterday. And it's kind of got some people thinking, because, the Highway Department is asking for more money, and they're asking for potentially, hey, we need more revenue from the people. And yet, since when did the Department of Transportation, why are they in the business, Marcus, of now building college buildings when we need roads?
I can't think of a worse optics than that. I mean, in reality, whether or not I don't know enough about this. This is news to me, so I can't comment too much on it, other than it's poor optics at this particular time, especially that maybe it's something that's absolutely going to increase efficiency at some point somehow, but I don't know. It's just bad timing to do this.
Yeah.
At this particular, hey, we've got so much money, we can give money over here to some other thing that doesn't seem related at all, and it might be a really smart thing to do. But we don't know it as legislators. I haven't, maybe somebody.
I mean, I don't know if you guys appropriated that money. I don't think you did. I think this was bureaucrats deciding to spend the money, which is kind of, I don't know, counterintuitive. But Marcus Richmond, I know you're real busy. I know you got a lot of stuff to do. But real quick, anything else that's kind of on your radar right now?
Well, I tell you, it's going to be there's going to be the transformation, trying to reduce the size of government. We're hoping that actually I say reduce the size of government. That's my hope, but reduce the number of agencies. That's going to be harder, I think, than what people realize at this point, because all government is excessive except the government that provides me my service. And when you start reaching out and touching this, if there's somebody affected in some district or something, then someone's going to get a call, and next thing you know, you've got several calls, and there'll be resistance. But I believe it's the right thing to do. I think we need to move that way, and I'm hoping that we can also pass some legislation separately from what is happening with transformation that's going to create the ability to maybe save a little bit more money. That part of this whole process is, you also are going to consolidate, but you're going to look at saving a certain percentage of whatever it might be. We've talked about that with some of the folks in the legislature, and hopefully we can move towards that and see some real cash turn back from the spending that goes on with these agencies.
Yeah, that'd be great to find some savings. State Representative Marcus Richmond, sir, it's always great to have you on, and I'll see you in Little Rock.
All right, you take care of yourself, Paul, and appreciate it, and you guys have a great day.
All right, you too, sir. That's the Republican Majority Leader of the House of Representatives, ladies and gentlemen.